Hello there, I'm Kiyos Ronan Beatmaker, and on this episode of the Monday Mindset Podcast, we're going to be talking about overthinking. We all often struggle with overthinking various situations or aspects in our life. As we overthink things, we lose sight of what we're thinking about, and we lose sight of the situation. We lose sight of our decision, especially if the situation conflicts with the emotions we are currently experiencing. Overthinking leads to doubt, which can lead to you making rash decisions or actions that may not be in your best favor, which could potentially have a ripple effect. And I see a lot of that going on right now in the US, given the COVID-19 pandemic that has swept the entire world and caught us all by surprise. Um, the fact that, in my opinion, that the way the media has been handling and portraying the situation, as well as our federal and state government, um, people are overthinking the situation and reacting irrational. And I think this is something that tends to happen a lot in our lives, but especially right now, given the climate of the situation of the world. Um, when and just I'm just speaking in general right now. When we get caught off guard, um, we begin to overthink the situation. We begin to overreact to the situation. Many times it's because, as I said earlier, our emotions. Now, I've said in a previous Monday Mindset episode that our emotions are a guide, they're not the answer. And that's something that I think people tend to forget about when we overthink. Because when we're overthinking situations, it's really coming from an emotional standpoint. It's not really coming from a conscious standpoint. What I mean by that is that when we overthink things, we're overthinking it due to our current emotional state, our emotional mindset at the time. We're not thinking of things objectively. And I think that's kind of what we're all dealing with right now, especially that we're all essentially confined to our homes for self isolation to prevent the spread of um, of this virus. So I think what you're going to start seeing a lot with people nowadays is, not everyone is comfortable or used to being isolated for long periods of time. And then you add on the other layer of many Americans, including myself, who have now found themselves unemployed. So you're starting, and then you add that level of stress to a situation that's already stressed. You may not have the finances. You may be living paycheck to paycheck. Everyone is in a very, we're living in strange times and with strange circumstances that are going to have lasting impacts on all of us for years to come, depending on how this whole thing plays out. And right now is really not a healthy time or an ideal time to start overthinking everything that's going on. My mom, like every time I've been on the phone with her the last couple days, I just hear the news in the background. I hear virus this, virus that. Cases are rising. People, the number of people that are dying and becoming ill. And, if you're one of those people who just relies on the news, you're going to get caught up and you're going to start overthinking the entire situation. If you're one of those people that's got your tinfoil hat on, then you're getting, you know, your perspective is being changed by whatever conspiracy theory, you're following in on right now or you're believing, and you're associating that with everything. And don't get me wrong. I mean, there are some odd things about this whole situation, but take a second and and pause before you drink the Kool-Aid, I'd say. Um, and it doesn't help that, the media is making people overthink, is making people overreact and react irrationally. If you're so excuse me, if you're so concerned with whether or not you're going to have enough toilet paper, that's an overreaction. And then you're filling up your cart with, dozens and dozens of toilet paper rolls. You're overthinking the situation, and you're not thinking about your fellow Americans. You're not thinking about the elderly. You're not thinking about people who have large families who can't afford to buy an entire grocery cart full of toilet paper, full of food. So, right now people are overthinking and they're overreacting. They're overthinking themselves, oh, well, am I going to have enough food? Am I going to have enough this? I'm going to have enough that. And with the media essentially condoning and many ways enabling this type of behavior, you're seeing people overreact tenfold. And then when you have our government that's not really providing proper information, we have an administration that's saying one thing and doing another. We have a Senate that's doing one thing and doing another. We have a House that's doing one thing and doing another. I mean, we are in many ways in a clusterfuck right now. And right now, since we're essentially in a clusterfuck, it is not ideal to overthink this cluster of a fuck that we're in. um, and and I just want people to really think about that for a second. Take a second, breathe, and reflect on why are you overthinking. What about this particular situation or event that you're dealing with that you're overthinking? Why? Like I said earlier, my unemployment has stopped due to where I work. It was a health concern. So I can spend my days, wondering, well, am I going to start working? When am I going to work? What's going to happen? What do I do? And you do that, you become stressed, you become frustrated, you become depressed, you become anxious, and you're overthinking everything, and you may start making decisions or choices that aren't really ideal for you right now. I mean, I think about and I bring back the toilet paper because I mean that's been the biggest thing that's been going on in our country. Like, what if you're a family or a household or an individual that lives paycheck to paycheck? And because you overreact and overthink this entire situation and what is a healthy amount of groceries and supplies to buy, you end up wasting money because you're buying more than you really need. It's only me, my dog Pablo, and my plant Lucille. That's it. I got enough food for Pablo. I have enough food for myself. I don't eat as much as I used to. So I'm not as concerned about stocking up on crazy amounts of food. And I don't use toilet paper, I use wipes because I'm civilized. But what I'm trying to say is that we we are our own worst enemies when it comes to how we overthink situations. And I feel bad and concerned for the families who couldn't have who live paycheck to paycheck but went out there and just bought a crazy amount of stuff. What if you're a family of five and you bought a crazy amount of food? Are you going to ration that food out? No, you're not. And then on top of that, people are overreacting and overthinking this thing. And I remember when I went several times to the grocery store, I saw all the junk food gone, but none of the fruit were taken. No fruit. All the vegetables were there, but junk food and meat and cheese, I understand some of that, but it's like, and then I went over to the like the pharmacy section with with all that stuff, and all the vitamins were there. All the vitamins, all the, like, and that's the thing for me is like our priorities. And because we overthink our priorities, we're not even getting things that would actually be healthy for us. Because let's be honest, we live in a country that is predominantly obese. And then you add this level of fear and overreaction and no real clear communication coming from the institutions that are designed to give us clear information, people are overreacting and they're buying junk food and buying loads of junk food, buying loads of food. And let's be honest, you're going to be stuck inside. Many Americans do not work out regularly. And don't get me wrong, there are plenty that do, but you're going to be stuck inside, isolated. All you're going to do is eat. You're going to stress eat. You're going to stress worry. You're going to relax and you're going to eat more food. And then all the food that you've saved to be isolated for 14 days, a month, whatever, half of it's going to be gone. Because when we all overthink, we tend to eat. We stress eat when we overeat. I've been there myself. I mean, the past couple nights, I've had one too many bowls of cereal, and I know I shouldn't. So, and it's me. It's not even really overreacting. It's more of like you get bored and you want to eat, and that's something that that be another topic. But I think with the overthinking the situation, it makes you want to eat. It makes you stress. You want that sugar craving. You want something to make you feel happy. Um, and I don't think that is an ideal way for us to be, but this is America and that's just how we think. If we're buying all the junk food, but we're not buying any healthy food, you're kind of putting yourself you're on a double-edged sword. Um, and that's something that's concerning. You know, I don't have any precondition, any pre-medical conditions or pre-existing medical conditions, but my mother does, and I get concerned for her. I actually took her car because I didn't want her going out. I don't want her to run the risk of getting sick because with her preconceived medical, her medical conditions, she would not survive this. And I think that's another thing that for me is hard to I try not to overthink it. I try not to think about it at all. Um, and I think that's another problem with what everyone's kind of dealing with is our elderly, our family members who are sick, who have medical conditions, who may not be able to survive or stomach this. This has started going on in February and it's only March. We don't know how this is going to last for the next couple of months. And I think that adds to that level of stress and overthinking. Because if you're going to spend your entire days in March worrying about June or July, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're not focusing on the present and what you can control right now. And that's another aspect of overthinking is that we try to control every aspect of our life, even things that we can't control. And we overthink those things that we can't control because we have no ability to control them. And that's what you're seeing right now with the country. So I say, try to meditate and reflect. Use this time as an opportunity to see things from a different perspective, rather than constantly thinking about the ifs, the ands, or the buts. Bruce Lee said, "As you think, so should you become." I interpret that as becoming balanced with your thoughts when you overthink things. When your thoughts become unbalanced, and if you think in an unbalanced perspective, this leads to an unbalanced state of mind and emotions. And that leads to an unbalance of fear, anger, and frustration. You spend so much time lost in your thoughts, you begin to overthink every aspect of your life. And you find yourself in a maze you can't get out of. And I really feel that many Americans, and not even many people across the entire globe, are going to be experiencing this. And as Bruce Lee said, as you think, so should you become. And if you think as a person that needs to overreact, needs to overbuy, needs to overindulge, whatever it is, you're going to become that. We've seen plenty photos, plenty videos of people fighting over toilet paper, fighting over junk food, fighting over food, whatever it is. And if you become like that, you're unbalanced. You're unbalanced by your fear, your anger, your frustration, your need to survive, your need to be me. If we had come together as a community, as a nation, if we supported one another instead of promoting and enabling fear mongering and allowing, and even if the media came together and used this time to help control, not necessarily control, but point people to not overreact, we would be in a better situation. People would be communicating more effectively. People wouldn't be fighting over or stealing food and toilet paper or selling food and toilet paper. But that's something that we live. We live in an unbalanced time. We live in an unbalanced country. And we live in a country that overthinks everything. And it's disappointing to see the way the world is reacting, especially here. But we are a country that overthinks. That's just the reality of the situation. And don't get me wrong, there are some aspects of this country that overthink so much that has done a lot of great things for this country, a lot of great inventions, great programs, great individuals, great ideas have come out of overthinking. But let's not mistake that some of those inventions and those individuals were unbalanced. And, we tend to romanticize certain aspects of our history. But the reality is, our history is bathed with a lot of blood, a lot of mistakes, a lot of pain, a lot of joy. And what you're seeing right now, to me, is a reaction to what this country was built upon and then lost sight of. I don't really know how all of this is going to play out. I have my speculations. I have my thoughts on it. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you what I think, because that's just going to add more fuel to the fire, more fuel to the tin hats, more fuel to the fear and the anger and the frustration and the anxiousness. And I don't want to be a part of that. And that's why I'm communicating in this manner and talking about this, because I want people to really think about, why are you overreacting? Why are you acting irrationally? What are you really afraid of? And if you can pinpoint exactly what you're afraid of, then you know how to handle it properly, and you don't overreact and you don't overthink. So I say instead, trust your instincts. Trust yourself. Don't overthink the situation or decisions. We are oftentimes our worst enemies, but that doesn't mean we have to be. There's always a choice. Choose to embrace yourself. Believe in yourself. Don't ever doubt yourself, and don't let your thoughts get the best of you. You have to stay balanced. Above all else, during these strange times that we live in, practice the art of not thinking. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Monday Mindset Podcast. Please leave a comment with your thoughts below and make sure to subscribe. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.